Hello everyone out there, this is Wager Detective, November 13th, 2025. We're going to get into this conference game, Sun Belt conference game between Troy and Old Dominion tonight. Let's start off with this. Let's take a look at the Sun Belt, see what's going on there. As you can see here, Old Dominion and Troy in that Sun Belt conference. Troy is 4-1 in the conference play. Old Dominion 3-2. Both teams sitting at a 6-3 record. Old Dominion averaging 31 points a game. Troy averaging 27, whereas Old Dominion is giving up about 23 points a game, and Troy's giving up 24. You look at the SRS. Old Dominion is a little bit better there, and they've played tougher competition as far as who they've seen this year. So let's take a look and see what Troy has done this year, coached by Gerard Parker. Okay, Gerard Parker started his coaching career in 2016 as a head coach. Started in 2000. He went 0-6. He left there, and then he came back about 8 years later to be a coach again. And now he's at Troy, where he's 10-11. Okay, 6-3 this year, by far his best coaching career in that time there. Okay, he's never been in a bowl game. Okay, let's see what Troy does. Let's take a look at their schedule here. Okay, now if we look at Troy, we look what they've done. They had a loss last week at home versus Arkansas State, and this is a system play that has me, no matter what stats I look at, system play is going to rule over that. Old Dominion is at home, but for me, Troy is the system play. But we're going to still talk about what they've done and what their opponents have done. On the year passing, Troy has 13 touchdown passes and 14 rushing, so they're very well balanced with the run and pass. But if you look at the last 2 weeks, they have 0 passing touchdowns the last 2 weeks. I would expect that to change here. Obviously, they're a little bit more of a run-heavy team. They do have 14 touchdowns on the ground. They got 7 in the last 3 weeks on the ground and only 1 through the air. On the year, they do have 11 turnovers, 8 of them coming by interception. So they're going to want to clean that up going forward. On the year, they forced 13 turnovers from their opponents. Okay, so they do get turnovers, and they are in the plus there, +2 in the turnover department. And see what teams have done against them this year. In the air, teams have passed on Troy for 11 touchdowns, and they've run on them for 14. So they're getting beat on the ground a little bit more. They did give up 5 rushing touchdowns, as you can see there, against Texas State. But in the last 3 weeks, they've only given up 1 rushing touchdown. Okay. Passing the ball, they've given up 5 passing touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Okay, and they only given up 11 on the year. So pass defense looks to be a little bit more concerning for them as far as recent games. You look at what they do. They pass the ball an average of about 29 times a game, and they rush the ball 36. So they're +7 in their rush to pass ratio as far as what they do on offense per game. Tucker Kilcrease is the quarterback there, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Let's take a look at this kid. Second year in the Sun Belt, second year junior. He had 3 touchdown passes last year. He's got 9 this year. He's going to have to turn in those turnovers because that's not really what you're going to want to do against an Old Dominion team. Take a look what they do on the ground. Who's getting the work in there? Ty Meadows has got 4 touchdowns. Kilcrease has got 5. And you got a couple other guys. Jordan Lovett's got 2. A couple guys got 1 there. But if you look at the main back, Jordan Lovett, Ty Meadows, and Tucker Kilcrease are your 3 main backs right there getting it done. As far as receiving, DJ Epps has got 3 touchdowns. Ra Thomas has got 3. Trey Taylor's got 3. So you got 3 guys with 3 touchdowns. It's pretty solid. And then you got a couple guys that are getting in the end zone. They got 27 touchdowns on the year from scrimmage. Defensively, Donnie Smith leads the team with 6 sacks there. Leads the conference, actually, by the way. Donnie Smith, 6 sacks on the year, leading the Sun Belt. They do have 24 sacks on the year. They can get pressure on the quarterback, right? They got 7 interceptions. They got 6 fumble recoveries. So they can force teams to turn the ball over. And then on the year, Scott Renfro, 8 for 10 field goals, 80% for 52 points. And Evan Crenshaw, as you can see here, leading the Sun Belt in yards per punt with 48. So that's a good sign, right? When you got a good punter and you want to flip field advantage, a guy that's leading the conference out of all those teams in the Sun Belt, he's got 48.3 yards per punt. So you could pretty much garner the fact that if they're good, and we know, like we said, with this team, they defensively, they're giving up 162 yards a game on the ground, 161, and they're giving up 195 through the air. But they're minus 40 yards per game on the ground this year versus teams, right? So minus 40 on the rush per game, and they're only plus 7.5 in the passing department as far as what they do there. So, I mean, you look at that team, well coached, Gerard Parker, not bad, decent quarterback, 3 guys that are wide receivers that are got 3 touchdowns, and then they got 3 guys on the ground that can get the ball in the end zone. So 27 touchdowns on the year for them. And again, not a tough schedule, minus 4. They're 112th in the SOS, 85th in their SRS. And they are going to be taking on Old Dominion. Old Dominion coming off a win last week on the road. Okay. We look at their SRS, 58th in the nation, and their SOS is 78th. So they've played tougher competition. Ricky Ronnie, the coach there, he's been at Old Dominion for 6 years. He's 26 and 33. He's on pace to have his best year by far this year. He's 0-2 in bowl games. Lost the famous Toastery Bowl and the Myrtle Beach Bowl in his only 2 bowl games, okay? But he does have some experience there. We look at what they've done this year. I want to take a look and see what they do. Okay, they've turned the ball over, guys. Look at this, 20 times on the year. All the way to the right, that TO is turnovers. They got 20 turnovers on the year, and they forced 16, so they're minus 4. So Troy's a better team at not as far as the turnovers. And, you know, you look at all the games they played, none of these games have really hurt them. They had 4 turnovers against Liberty. They still won by 2 touchdowns. They had 5 turnovers, right? They had 5 turnovers against Marshall, at Marshall. It did cost them in that one, where they lost by 24. And then they had 3 the week after that. They lost to Marshall. And then the last 2 weeks, comparatively, they've not turned the ball over. They won by 3 versus App State, went on the road and won by 25 at Louisiana Monroe, and only had 1 there. What do they like to do when they score touchdowns? 19 passing touchdowns and 17 rushing. So they're balanced as well. Both these teams are balanced. What I can say about that is that leads me to the over, right? That leads me to the over. I want to look further, but you look at what teams have done against Old Dominion this year. They passed on them for 13 touchdowns, and they passed on them for 13 rushing touchdowns. So they can get scored on balance-wise the same. They haven't given up a rushing touchdown in the last 2 weeks, but they've given up 7 passing touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. So if Troy, which seems to be more of a team that can get the ball in the air, I mean, they got guys, 3 players with 3 receiving touchdowns and a nice little backfield, plus Kilcrease can run the ball for Troy. But you look at them, and automatically I'm looking at an over. I don't know what the over is. We're going to get to that later, but keep that in mind as we're capping this game. 61% completion percentage for Joseph is Joseph Colton having a great year for Old Dominion with 19 touchdown passes, and they got 17 on the ground. And you just look at them; they've had a number of games. They had 3 games over 500 total yards, right? And those are the games that they easily covered the spread that's set tonight, right? They got over. So we look here, here, and here. No, and here. All right, we won't do that because it's not going to let me. But you look at 544, 526, 619. I mean, one of them was against North Carolina Central. The other one was against Virginia Tech. And then the other game, they beat Coastal Carolina pretty bad. And Coastal Carolina is not a bad team. They're 6-3. They do have a bad SOS and a bad SRS, but as I said, Troy is a double system play tonight. And but the thing about Old Dominion is they are off the bye. And what I did notice is under this coach, I want to take you back to this because this is an important fact. We'll go back to this year right here. What do they do after they come off the road? Win and loss. So under this coach, Ronnie. Okay? Off the road at Liberty, they lose 34-35. Off the road loss, they lose 20-43. Off the road win, they win and cover the spread. Off the road win, they win and cover the spread. Okay? Now this is a bye week, which I think I should probably look into that a little bit more. What have they done under this coach off of the bye? You see here, this was a game where the 16th they went to the 30th. They come back off the bye, win 23-20. Next year, what do they do off of the bye? The 1st to the 15th, they come back. They beat Coastal Carolina by 28. So they're 1-1 off the bye against the spread. Next year, 2023, what do they do here off the bye? This was the week before the bye. They come back, they win by 7 versus Appalachian State. Didn't cover there. And then last year, 24, 2-16, this was the week before the bye. They come back off the bye and they lose against James Madison. So not really something to write home about off the bye. They are playing a good year this year. They're pretty solid, decent SOS, best year for Coach Ronnie. Let's take a look at their stats. We know Colton is having a fantastic year. Offensively, they pass the ball 26 times a game, and they rush it for 37. So both these teams are passing the ball or running the ball more than they pass. But if you look here, Old Dominion is better. They're plus 27 points a game, 27.5 rushing yards per game, and then passing they're plus 56. So total yards they're better than Troy they're plus 85 in their total yards a game on the year. They're averaging 7 yards per play on offense, but their defense is giving up 5.1 per play. All right. So we look at that. Now let's take a look at Colton Joseph. Look at this guy. Leads the conference in touchdown passes with 19. Leads it in adjusted yards per catch. Leads it in yards per attempt. Leads it in ADOT, yards per catch, 15.7, and a top rating in the conference. All leading the Sun Belt for Colton Joseph. Oh, having a fantastic year. He is a second-year sophomore. So both quarterbacks in their second year. But definitely, Colton Joseph is the guy here. He's getting it done. If you look at what they do on the ground, Colton Joseph, 9 rushing touchdowns. So not only does he have 19 passing touchdowns, he's got another 9 on the ground. Okay, Traquan Jones leading the conference in yards per attempt with 7.8 yards an attempt, 68 rushing yards attempts for 528 yards. He's got 4 touchdowns. So between Colton Joseph and Traquan Jones, 13 touchdowns between them. Markari James has 2 touchdowns as well. In the air, passing the ball, Naeem Gladding, 6 touchdowns. Trey Brown, 4. Ja'Cory Thomas, 4. They got guys that can score too in the air. They got 3 guys that got 4 or more touchdowns, whereas in the air, whereas Troy has 3 guys that have 3 touchdowns. So they're a little bit more prolific, and they got 36 touchdowns on the year compared to Troy's 27. Defensively, we look at what they do. 23 sacks, they're right there with Troy. They got 8 interceptions and 8 fumble returns. Fumble recoveries and 9 forced fumbles, so they're solid there. They got guys. They're getting it done. You look at their field goal kicker, bro. Ooh, not good. This is where they run into problems. You look at Riley Callaghan. He's 32 for 33 on extra points, but look at that, 8 for 15 on field goals. So if this game is close and it's chippy, you got to think anything more than 35 yards, you're sitting pretty good if you're Troy. So if I'm going to look at this game, I know they've played a good schedule, but this is a system play. I am going to go with, I'm definitely going to go with Troy because it is a system play. Now, if we talk about the over-under, I mean, the line is 10.5, right? I think that might be a little too high. But listen, Colton Joseph is the guy over there. 52.5. If I'm looking at that total right there, I'm sorry. I got to lean over there. And that might be my stronger play here. And matter of fact, it will be. 12:40 p.m. on November 13th, 2025. Wager Detective is going to call the over 52.5 in the Troy game at -105 on FanDuel. And I also like Troy plus the 10.5 at -120. That's my call here. That's how I feel. I mean, anything can happen in these games, Sun Belt games, but Old Dominion's going to put up points. Troy's going to put up points, especially after Troy didn't put up anything last week against Arkansas State. They had a subpar game. You know, Old Dominion, they turned the ball over a lot, and it could be one of those games where a turnover here or there keeps it within that number and then flips the field, and then the total can really sky through. But that's going to be my call here. Wager Detective, November 13th, 2025, 12:40 p.m. here from Atlantic City. Wager Detective is going to call Troy plus 10.5, -120, and over 52.5 at -105. This is Wager Detective, and I'll talk to you soon. I hope to see you guys in the winner's circle.